do we have any trust left in these institutions? Do we have any trust left? And like people that work there are leaving and saying, I'm being asked to insert things into this that isn't true.
Well, that alone, like driving the car towards the officer, that's just not technically correct.
Right.
It seems like she was steering it away. Why would they want to say something that's not correct when you could just see it in a video? Like if you were running a newsroom, that would be the last thing you would want to do is contradict something that's obviously verifiable. So that would, for what reason would you sacrifice your credibility? Because that's essentially what it's doing. It's such a short-term play.
Yes, but I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay.
Because their main demographic is 70-year-olds who are having strokes on their couch. They're not verifying this. They're not. They have a very old audience that is not online savvy. They're not looking at many angles. They have cataracts, and they're hearing this, and it allows them to dismiss it as, well, she did the wrong. She drove justifiable shooting. Yeah, I don't think they're.
But somebody's motivating them to do that for those people.
For sure, yeah.
Why?
Yeah, well, because she's in the tank for Trump, because Trump promised, or maybe didn't promise, but like whatever, he's useful in the sense that he's going to go in and topple the regime in Iran. He's going to sue all these, or he's going to bring Harvard College to heel for whatever the hell they did. And she believes that, and again, a lot of this is just connected to her view that, Israel's interests are always 100% concurrent with America's, and Trump gets that, and he understands that. So she's in the tank for Trump, which, by the way, if Biden would have invaded Iran, she would have started protecting him. It doesn't seem like she doesn't care that much about a ton of issues. It seems to be that this is her big issue.
That's a disturbing thing to a lot of people. Like, how much influence do they really have on this country? That's what creeps people out, because I think no one even really considered it before October 7th. It wasn't. I mean, I'm sure people considered it. Nick Fuentes considered it, but it wasn't like it was an openly discussed thing amongst young people.
Right.
It wasn't until we started realizing. First of all, it was AIPAC. It was the weirdness of the New York City mayoral race.
Yeah, of course.
Very weird. Where they were all like, we're going to visit Israel. Like, what?
Well, it's also in direct opposition to the stated goal of the Trump administration, which is to repair the United States and to make it great and to elevate it and to focus on the United States and to not go into Middle Eastern wars, which was a huge, very popular plank of his platform, and to not waste money and saddle ourselves with debt and mire ourselves in these unwinnable wars. And there was such a gaslighting campaign. The Secretary of State came out after the Iran war and goes, well, Israel's going to attack them anyway, and our bases were going to be vulnerable, so we had to join. And then he went, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't really mean that. We're partners, and we both think it's a great idea. And there was tremendous pressure on him to do this.
Yeah.
And, it hasn't worked. And it's clearly not in the interest of the United States to be in a Middle Eastern war with Iran. Tons of Jewish people don't believe it is. Lots of, people from all walks of life don't believe it. But there's an ideological group of people that donate a lot of money and that are incredibly powerful. And they are really pushing this. They're pushing troops and they're pushing nukes. Yeah. They're like, or unconventional weapons, like crazy bombing campaigns. They're pushing troops on the ground. They don't care what it takes. Iran has to be either completely destroyed or it's just got to be a chaos zone. But for the regional ambitions of Israel, it can't exist. So, I mean, again, and not in a paranoid conspiratorial way, because I don't like the victim stuff either, as a bunch of people in America being like, I can't get ahead because Jewish people are successful. I think that's a stupid road to go down. That's a victim road. I hate that. I hate it. I hate it when gay people do it, or anyone, any group of people. I hate when they drench themselves in victimhood. I think when you become a victim, you lose autonomy over your life. It's insane. But I do think there's a fair question to ask about what is the motive of certain massive big donors? Is the motive the strength and prosperity of America, or is it the strength and prosperity of Israel? That's a fair question.
Yeah. And like, what about the rest of the world? Like, how much are we putting ourselves at odds with the rest of the world?
Indescribably the worst PR ever. And, you know, people cannot justify, you know, you've got to be a very ideological person to justify, you know, southern Lebanon, Gaza, Iran, perhaps Turkey. This is starting to feel like this is like a friend you have who you make excuses for a certain amount of time. And then your wife eventually goes, they're not allowed here. You can't go out with them. They're a problem. They have a fucked up home life. I know they're fun. I know that you share values. I know that you enjoy each other. You've known each other for a long time. But here's the deal. They're not coming to the house and they can't be around the kids because, you know, that's what it's coming down to.
What's even worse than that, the thing that drives me crazy is the negotiators. When they get negotiators, then they wind up whacking them.
They kill all the negotiators.
And
They're
then
killing
Trump
the
tells
Iran
them,
deal.
stop killing the negotiators.
Yeah. And I mean,
stop bombing Lebanon.
Is this Iran deal going to work? Is it going to work? You know? Stop bombing Lebanon. I think we're at odds now. We're in the last 2 years. We're at odds with Israel for the first time, where Trump is really at odds with them, and he's had enough. And I think he is starting to understand that his legacy will be permanently tainted if he doesn't find a way to extricate us from this war. And I think on the other side, and Vance, again, for all the disagreements I might have with Vance about certain things. He is one of the only people in that administration who does push against the continuation of this war, which is why a lot of those neoconservative donors try to destroy him because of that. I don't love his tech alliances. There's a lot of things I don't like about him, but there's a lot of things I think are good about him. I think and it's not like I don't like about him per se. I worry about, you know, some of his relationships.
How many of these relationships you think are like necessary for survival?
I'm sure all of them are, and that doesn't mean but they still need to be criticized and looked at.
Oh yeah,
and they 100%.
Oh, not justifying it at all, but I'm
totally
saying I have a feeling like no completely autonomous person is ever going to make it through that maze.
Never. But I think the job is you turn the heat up enough where maybe if everyone's going to do 10 horrible things, they do 2.
Right.
So I think it's certainly the job of anyone who looks at this stuff to look at it and go, yeah, what is going on? What is happening? But I will say, for all of the tech, you know, things that I find a little, you know, it's a little like, what? I do think that, to his credit, he's the only one in there, and you can tell. And it's not that I have some inside knowledge. They're only he's being attacked the most. Mm-hmm. By the people that want the war to continue.
Yeah.
And I think he knows his political ambitions will be completely destroyed by a continuation of this war.